I would like to have Brother Littleton get his table, and Reverend Sims and Reverend Fred Moore and Sister Dorothy Steed and Brother Norcross. If I could have them down here in front, I could go down and sit. And that discussion that took place in church school, I think would give us a tremendous lesson. I came in on the end of it. I don't know. I figured the other part was even better than the part I got in on. But I do want to say that we have some marvelous, wonderful teachers in all of our classes, because all of our kids come back and they're just talking about their teacher this and their teacher that, and she showed us this and she showed us that. And so it's good to hear those kind of remarks. They don't know I'm listening, but I hear. And I'm glad I hear those kind of things that come by. Now, I would like, we read responsibly from 2 Corinthians 13th chapter, verses 1 through 10. And I would like just to finish it off by going just a little further. Finally, brethren, farewell. Become complete. Be of good comfort. Be of one mind. Live in peace. And the God of love and peace will be with you. Greet one another with a holy kiss. All the saints greet you. Well, I wanted to say that this part is that which we forget, a forgotten art within our Christian living, forgotten art in our Christian living. We are so aware of how we complain about everything, from being too hot to being too cold, from the snow falling to the sun shining. We are a group of people who are very, very, very seldom satisfied. Now you may not agree with me, but you ought to think about it. When were you satisfied the last time? Think about it. When was the last time that somebody praised you for something that was automatic with you? You see, it's nothing to speak to somebody. But we will walk past people and not open up our mouth. Matter of fact, if they're coming in one door, we will go to the other. I ain't talking about here because of every, a couple other churches I pastored, they would go out the back door just so they would not have to speak to anybody. And it was a shame that we got ourselves in such a position and a condition. Because our Bible says that we ought to be of good cheer. It always has told us how we should treat one another. And yet, here we are, still listening to the same word. Be of good comfort. Be of one mind. We can't make up our minds on anything. See, one thing that I have learned in this ministry, you better move on the first yay. Don't let them think about it. Don't ask them if they're sure. But if you got a yay the first time, you got confirmation. Because when you come back, somebody's going to think about it and say, well, Pastor, if we... I said, no, that was passed a long time ago, so we through with that. And then they make it to the parking lot. All the spiritual feeling, all the fire that we had in worship is now doused in the parking lot. We got to change this. And somebody will say, you need to talk to them. Like they're going to change my mind. Some folk had the nerve to call Mr. Johnson, no, don't pass no messages. Don't, if you don't bring none, you don't get none. So if we don't pass one another. If you got something to say to her, don't tell me to tell her because I know I'm not going to remember. I say, there was something somebody told me to tell you, but that was too long ago. It's just 5 minutes, but that's too long ago. And she'll tell you in a heartbeat, no, don't bring no messages. Not unless they are of good news. See, I believe that Paul, in his writing, when he was looking at this situation, Corinth was a good place. Corinth was a place you wanted to be. And yet, when he came and he said, this is the third time. But this time, I can't be with you in person. So I'm sending you this letter where I have a few witnesses who will attest to what I am writing. Sometimes it's better to send a letter than it is to be in person. Amen. We have come to the point in our lives where most of us have said to ourselves, I'm not going to do that anymore. Until one of your best friends do it. And you know what you said, but you know you gotta back up. Don't say what you won't do because just because you said it and now you turn around and as fast as you said it, here's somebody making you do it. What you said you wouldn't do. And you know how it is when you get along with friends and everybody starts telling those tales and you know that they're wrong, but you won't say, Doc, that ain't right. You didn't do all of it. You'll just attest to it, just to get it over with. Because you don't want you don't want to be caught up in another one. So you said, yeah, you right. Just to move on. And you see, when we come into God's house, we ought to be ready to celebrate. People say, well, I come to worship in silence. You can't worship God in silence. When have you heard a choir sing an anthem in silence? You see, when you come to worship, you come to make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Yes. Not unto man, but unto God you come in with joy in your heart. Gee, don't you remember the words? I was glad when they said unto me, let us go unto the house of the Lord. Maybe you don't remember the first time you heard those words, but when you heard them, it was joy. Enter his courts with thanksgiving. Now you know what we do. You know, we love Thanksgiving. We got turkey, dressing, more dressing. So see, I have all the different dressings that people make. And where Brother Waterman at? I ain't gonna try. It'll set me on fire. Something he fixed. But the point being is that I come in with thanksgiving because I am so thankful. I didn't know if I was going to make it this week. I didn't know if I was going to make it today, even though I was here yesterday. Every day is a day of thanksgiving. Amen. Let me stop here. When he says, it just started moving. Live in peace. And the God of love and peace will be with you. Amen. Who's your neighbor? Huh? Who's your neighbor? Who lives beside you? Do you know who they are? Most of you don't. Most of you don't know who your neighbor is. I make my neighbors know me. I got one, he don't speak, but I make him speak to me. I call him out by name and say, ask him, how you doing, doctor? I make him speak. He doesn't like talking to nobody, but I make him speak. On the other side, no problem. He talked too much. But you know what? They're a kind family. They bring you Christmas cookies. They think of things to do just that they might share with their neighbors. So yeah, I know them real well. But when you really get down to it, I know everybody in my cul-de-sac. Why? Because I went and knocked on their doors and introduced myself. And I found out, you mean you work on sprinklers? I got some work for you. And I didn't know it. But that's what you find out when you talk to your neighbors. I didn't have to pay somebody all of that money when it was just a screw that needed to be, or something that needed to be twisted, and he didn't mind coming by with his dog and get it all done. And then in the fall, blow out your sprinkler system and say, Red, that's all right. That's a blessing. Why? What did you do? Why did he treat you that way? Well, you see, I sat outside and talked with his wife and found out she was laboring under cancer. And out on the front porch, we had prayer. Because I told her I serve a God that will heal you. And all you got to do is ask him. Now these are church-going people. Every Sunday they go to church. But I wanted her to know the God that I knew. Who was able. Prayed for her. That's all. Didn't want nothing. Didn't need anything. But out of that came a whole bushel of blessings. What does it say? Peace will be with you. How many times have you had to go to bed and can't sleep? Because something's on your mind. Something is troubling you. Something that you know that you should have done that you didn't do, and that you know now you can't do. And you can't sleep. And you can't tell anybody. And God's peace. Because see, we don't think about God when we should. Lord, remove this from me. Allow me to have a good night's rest. Lord, handle that for me. God works miracles. Now, Paul was saying goodbye. This was his third time talking with them. But he wanted to make sure that they understood what they needed to do. Nobody ought to have to tell you, speak to people. Because you know what? What happens is this. What you do, your children do. And you wonder, where did they pick it up at? Watching you. And they're like a sponge. Anything you say, they got it. They have it. And they will repeat it at the wrong time. Well, Sister Judy, my mama said she couldn't stand you. I heard her say that in the car. Sister Judy just rolling her eyes. And mama ready to fall out. That's what the child repeated. Why? Because they heard it. Paul wants them to remember who God is. Paul wants them to remember what he's done, what Christ has been in their lives, and how he's been blessing him. Even though he's in prison, even though he can't come, he can send a letter. Said of Paul could write a letter that could turn the city upside down. We can't even praise him to get his attention. Well, once you think of it. Lastly, it says, greet each other. What does he say? With a holy kiss. So that as we are showing our concern and our love for one another, we greet one another. We have a way of showing that I mean what I say. You know, I don't touch people's hands. Why not? How did you get in the door? How did you get in your car? How did you get in your house? How did you do this and how did you do that? Let me tell you, you don't have enough germicide to clean everything you touch. And some of the things you touch are so filthy, germicide will run from it. But we can't speak. Greet one another. Just say good morning. Good to see you. And I thought you were still in Texas. She know I got a pick at her. But you know, when we extend that invitation to Christian discipleship, it's something that is serious and we don't take lightly. Because we have to continually extend that invitation, showing that the doors of the church are open and are willing to accept whomsoever will come, let them come. Yes, sir. well, no, you're the wrong type of person. No, I want you to come in. You sit up under God long enough, he'll make you the right person. You don't have to worry about God to change you in the twinkling of an eye. But we extend that invitation because it's something that is important to the kingdom of God. I give myself away. I give myself away. Why? So you